in a curved track. So we have seen several instances. We have seen the coning of wheel. We have talked about the curve resistances. But we missed one thing that we are going to talk about in this particular chapter, that what is super elevation. So from your 11th or 12th standard class syllabus, you know what is super elevation. In the last semester also you had a class on highway and traffic engineering. There also you heard the term super elevation. So here also we have the same term, but as this is a class, you need to know the basics. So train travel in a straight direction while negotiating a curved track. Though there is a curvature, as the train was moving along a straight track, it will behave as if it is going in the straight direction, in the tangential to the curve. Then second one is, as there is a horizontal curve, train is negotiating a curve with certain radius, so there will be a constant radial acceleration that will be working in which direction? Opposite to the center. Okay, so it produces basically a centrifugal force acting in the radial direction away from the center. So on one side we have center. So on the other side, the centrifugal force will be working in that particular direction. Centrifugal force will be working, and the train will be subjected to a constant radial acceleration. So before going into the details of the super elevation, we need to know why do we need to provide super elevation. In case of highway and traffic engineering, you heard that there will be skidding, there will be overturning. That's why we need to provide super elevation for the road. In case of rail, we need to think about the track. So what are the two components of the track which are on the top? Those are two rails. So we provide super elevation due to various reasons. One of the reason is that the wheel load that is coming, that is being well distributed on both rails. If they are not being well distributed, there will be problem. Here. Second one is neutralize the effect of centrifugal force. So it is away from the center, centrifugal force is working, that's why you are exposed to radial acceleration. So you need to neutralize that. That is why we need to provide super elevation. The passenger, we need to think about the passenger as well. Whenever you are engineer, you need to think about the passenger. So passenger, they will be experiencing discomfort. It is, we need to make sure that when the train is moving along a horizontal curve, the journey is going to be really smooth. So provide smooth track. And last one is related to the second point, basically. So wearing and tearing of rail, at the same time rolling stock. So train has various movable components. From the top, if you see that the compartment के नीचे है आपका bogie, then you have wheels. So there are various moving parts in between compartment. In the bogie, I have shown you a photo of the bogie frame where you have bearings and other thing. Uh, portion of it is known as the junction box. So many other things. So you need to think about the rolling stock as well, not only the rails. So better distribution of wheel load on both rails and wearing and tearing of rails and rolling stock is somewhat related to each other. So these are the reasons which forces us to go for the installation of the super elevation. Now, what are the things we need to keep in mind while providing the super elevation? All of you are familiar with this point. So we have one outer rail, we have one inner rail. So outer rail is to be elevated in reference to the inner rail. Yeah, the outer rail will be on the higher side by an amount equal to the super elevation. So when we are saying we have to provide super elevation, we need to raise the outer rail with respect to the inner rail by the amount we are going to calculate. Why? To counteract the effect of the centrifugal force, so that the journey is going to be smooth. There is well distribution of load on the two rails. The other name of super elevation is cant. This is nothing but the difference between the height of outer and inner rail. So in case of railway engineering as well as highway engineering, we generally take the inner side as the reference rail. So this inner rail is known as the gradient rail. Okay, which one is at the reference line? Now outer rail is being raised, so inner rail is being called as gradient rail and being used as the reference rail. So this is at the original level, at the level of the track. So if you remember during the discussion of the permanent way, I had a photo which is on a plane section and another photo was from the curved section. So if you look at that photo, you will be able to see that the outer rail is elevated with respect to the inner rail. So this is a photo, outer rail, inner rail. What is this? This is known as check rail. We have talked about this several times. Okay, check rail is provided in order to make sure that the train is not going to be derailed. At the same time, there is not much wearing and tearing of the outer rail. For these two purposes, we provide a parallel rail very near to the inner rail. So here you can see that the outer rail is raised with respect to the inner rail. So inner rail means the original rail, not the check rail. This inner rail will be extending from the previous block or previous section to the next section, but this check rail, the second inner rail, will only be present where the horizontal curve is present. Okay. So super elevation or cant is nothing but the height difference between the outer rail and the inner rail, the original rail, not the check rail. Okay, and this is gauge. Now there is a term which is known as equilibrium super elevation. Later you will be hearing a term called equilibrium speed. So equilibrium is basically a condition that when a train is negotiating a horizontal curve, so it has center of gravity through which the centrifugal force is working, leading to the radial acceleration, and through the CG again weight of the train is working in the downward direction. So if you take the resultant of these two, resultant of the centrifugal force, resultant of the weight, and if it is working at right angle to the plane of the surface of the rail, then we can tell that equilibrium condition is reached. What does it mean by equilibrium condition? What is happening? The super elevation that we have provided, that is allowing us to counteract the effect of the centrifugal force. So in the state of equilibrium, the super elevation is known as equilibrium super elevation. Both wheels exert equal pressure on the rail. So unequal distribution of load is not happening, no wearing and tearing, no problem to the rail or the rolling stock. So this is the ideal situation that we can think about. So we'll see a photo of it. So here you can see that this is a horizontal curve. This is inner side, this is outer side. So this is E. This is super elevation, cant. This is center of gravity, centrifugal force, direction of the radial acceleration. This is basically the weight of the train, W. Okay, now if you look at the resultant of these two, which is nothing but this dot line. So equilibrium super elevation is when this resultant will be working at the surface of the rail in 90 degrees. So this is perpendicular. So at this particular stage, we'll call this as super elevation, equilibrium super elevation. Okay, this will make sure there is no unbalanced force being distributed to two different wheels and the effect of the centrifugal force is being counteracted. So now we have certain derivations. Those are simple ones you have seen several times. So centrifugal force F, mass, acceleration. This acceleration is nothing but radial acceleration, v square over r. B is in meter per second, r is in meter. So if m is equal to w over g, a we replaced it with v square over r. Tan theta super elevation by gauge E over G. E is super elevation or cant, G is gauge that we have for the track. Tan theta can be also seen from the photo that it is the ratio between centrifugal force F divided by the weight. So tan theta we got E over G, we got F over G. So if we can say that tan theta is equal to E by G equal to F over W. So now if we put those values in the equation above, F is equal to EW over G, or E is nothing but GF over W. Okay. So we have one equation, we have one first equation. If we combine both the equation, we'll get E is equal to GMV square over R divided by mg. तो सारे काट करने के बाद mm ये सब जाने के बाद E is equal to V square G. This is capital G, this is small g, this is capital R. This E is in meter. Now it is very unlikely that super elevation will be in meter. Okay. So in this particular equation, G is in meter, which is quite normal. V is in meter per second. R is in meter, which is normal. G is meter per second square. This is okay. But in case of so if we want to get it in terms of centimeter, so this 127 R will change to 1.27 R. So V is in that case kilometer per hour, G is in meter, R is in meter. Now there is one more variation that we will be using in case of solving the numerical is E is equal to GV square over 127 R. So see, this is almost same. Here both the derivation are same, but here I am saying meter, here I am saying millimeter. So is there any change in this equation? Is there any unit change for anything? Okay, for this particular equation, G is in millimeter. All other things, V is in kilometer per hour, R it is in meter, but E will be coming as in millimeter. Okay, so again I am telling you when you will be deriving it, it is expected that you will be deriving it at least once in your lifetime. So when you try to play with the equation, try to see how the equation changes with the units. Okay. So there is one more term which is equilibrium speed. So this is nothing but the speed when we achieve the equilibrium super elevation, when we provide equilibrium super elevation. So you can see from the definition that when speed negotiating a curved track is such that resulting force of vehicular weight. So we had a track like this. So we had CG, we had a W component, we had one F component. The resulting force is going to work perpendicular to the plane of the rail section. Okay, radial acceleration, vehicular weight, उसका resultant force जो है, it is perpendicular to the plane of the rail. Perpendicular to the plane of the rail. This is the rail surface. Okay, so in that case, vehicle, it is nothing but train, is not subjected to any unbalanced radial acceleration. Or in other terms, we can say the centrifugal force is completely balanced by the super elevation that we have provided. So one small example, very easy. So BG track 2-degree curve, equilibrium speed is given. So we know the equation of R, which is inversely proportional to D. So D value is given. We put the value of D, we got the value of R. Super elevation, one equation I have used, which is in terms of centimeter, GV square over 1.27 R, where G is in meter. If we go for this, we will be able to get the value of E as 9.65. Okay, but there is an interesting term. So we heard about broad gauge, we heard about meter gauge, we have talked about two different kind of narrow gauges. We also heard something known as standard gauge. Okay, but there is a different term which is known as dynamic gauge. Dynamic gauge is used for the geometric design of the track, particularly in the case of super elevation estimation. So if you look at the equation of super elevation, when this is in millimeter, this is also in millimeter. If you look at this equation, you'll be able to see that gauge is lying here on the top. So gauge is basically dictating what is going to be the super elevation along with speed and R. Okay. So dynamic gauge concept came into the play that when a train is moving, we know that there is nosing action, there is zigzag motion. So train is moving on one side, the wheel flange is going to hit the head of the rail, again it is coming back. So it has been observed, if we go for actual value of gauge being incorporated in this equation, sometimes the line is not going to be safe. There are instances of rail derailment or accidents. So the people who were responsible for the track design, they came up with the idea of factor of safety. They cannot do anything with the speed, they cannot do anything with respect to the R. So they said that if we want to incorporate anything in terms of factor of safety, we can go for some super elevation which is meant for a larger gauge. So how much large? What is the maximum gauge value that we can have when we have a broad gauge of 1676? Any idea? Whether it is 2 meter, 2.5 meter, 1700 millimeter? They came up with the value of 1750 millimeter. How this value is coming? In case of broad gauge, it is nothing but this is rail, this is rail. So gauge, we are knowing this is the gauge. And what is dynamic gauge? So we have further distance on this side. We have further distance on this side. So how much? This is nothing but center to center distance between the two heads. Okay, so we have one head on this side, we have another head on this side. So in case of broad gauge, this 1750, which is nothing but 1676 plus 74, that makes 1750. is basically the center to center distance between the two rail heads, and we use it in order to come up with the value of super elevation in case of railway engineering. So we do not use the actual value of gauge. So being said that, I want to make you people cautious. If you look at various books in railway engineering, you will be able to see that the book written by Professor Satish Chandra has incorporated the dynamic gauge concept. But other books, I can tell you about the Aurora Saxena book. I have not seen any other reputed book. Rather, our library has some books which is written by unknown person. In those books also, I have seen that they have used G is equal to 1676 millimeter or 1.76 meter, which is not accepted in the present decade. So if you go to Indian Railway website, even on their websites, they have calculated the value of super elevation using dynamic gauge. So do not use the gauge value 1.676 or 1000 meter in case of super elevation design. But if you follow Professor Satish Chandra's book, you will be able to see that it has rightly used the dynamic gauge concept in order to solve the problems. Now let us see some related terms. So whenever we talk about the speed of the train, this is one of the most crucial part of geometric design of the track. In case of highway and safety engineering also, you have seen that many components are related to the design speed. Okay, what is the design speed? You came up with side distances, you came up with different components of the curves. Many a times the design speed was mentioned every time. Here also, when we will go for super elevation design or anything, any other intricacies, we need to know what are the different speed terms. So speed for railways are defined in many ways. Common people, when you talk to a person who is not civil engineer, they will be telling you something related to average speed. The second one is maximum speed. So train बहुत ही slow जा रहे थे. So you ask what is that speed? Obviously average speed. And then some people can say that I took a galloping train and the train was traveling very fast for certain stretches. जिधर उसको रुकने का जरूरत नहीं था. तो if you ask him or her what is the speed, they will tell maximum speed. So that is what common people know. But when you are a civil engineer, you are having a course in railway engineering and you are trying for a career in railway engineering, you will come across several other terms. One is shape speed, which is represented as VS that we will be seeing. There is one more term that we have already seen is equilibrium speed. So train is exerting equal pressure on the rails. There is no unbalanced effect of centrifugal force. Then last one is when somebody says maximum speed, you are confused as you have gone through the railway engineering course that maximum permissible speed or maximum sanctioned speed, or both of them are same, because sanctioned and permissible sometimes they seem to be very much similar. So which one? Okay, so these are the terms you will be knowing when we will be going through the geometric design. So let us see them one by one. So first one is average speed. As a common man, you are familiar with the average speed, which is dependent upon the length of the section and the number of stoppage. So you are traveling from Agra to Lucknow. So A, B, length of the section and number of stoppages, which train you are going to take. So if you take a local train, if you take a Janashatabdi train, or if you have a galloping train during the office hour, the average speed will be different. Now, the maximum speed. So people have talked about maximum speed for certain stretch or certain section. Okay, for certain stretch, I had an app in my mobile where I saw that the train was traveling at the speed of 150 km/h. But for every track, there is a maximum sanction speed, which is defined by the track engineer. This track engineer, you remember I have referred this term track engineer once when I was talking about the accidents which happened in Khatoli or Muzaffarnagar. The track engineer did not inform the people. So they were having some maintenance, which is not routine maintenance, which is called as illegal maintenance by some newspaper. So that information was not conveyed or disseminated to the cabin, station manager or the drivers. So the train was traveling at a high speed. They put a rail section without putting much fastening. So as usual, natural, the train fell and many people died. And one other fact was the train was ICF coach. Okay. So maximum sanction speed will be always defined by the engineer, track engineer. This will be depending upon many things. That will be depending upon what are the trains those are traveling on this particular track. Whether we have more number of Rajdhani Express type train or we have more number of mail or express train, and what is the frequency of the goods train. The average speed of the goods train is much lower than the passenger train. So those will be influencing the sanction speed. At the same time, you need to see what is the level of maintenance. How much manpower you have in order to send the people to the site and check कि देखो कोई lose तो नहीं है, कुछ ढीला तो नहीं हो गया है, everything is in proper order, right? So many a times you may not push them and they may not be interested to go to the site. So if you do not have the clear-cut idea, you will not be able to tell what is going to be the maximum permissible, the maximum sanction speed for a particular track. So this is defined by the track engineer, the person who is responsible for maintenance. So this speed limit can be used during the time of emergencies with prior permission of the authorities. So in case of highway engineering also, when you have gone through the content of speed studies, you have seen that you prepared a frequency table. From there you prepare something which is cumulative frequency distribution of curve. From there you get to know certain values, 15th percentile, 50th percentile, 85th percentile, 95th or 98th percentile. So the highest value that you get, that you tell design speed with which we engineers design. And you say that 85th is basically the speed limit that we should mention. So you know that there will be speed violation, and if there is a person who is traveling very high above speed limit, we punish them, we issue them the ticket or the challan, if not in India, in abroad. Now why we are doing that? Because he is traveling in a way which is unsafe. But is it really unsafe? Because we know that we have designed everything with 95th percentile speed, much higher with which the people are traveling, or 98th percentile speed, which is much higher. So design speed is basically extreme situation. We know that we can accommodate this much, but if we disclose the design speed to the people, you will expect that there will be more number of accidents, because we have designed with the highest value and there are some people who are going beyond the highest value. So maximum sanction speed is somewhat related to design speed. Okay, so we do not disclose it. We can only use it when there is emergency. Suppose if we have been attacked by some of our hostile neighbors, we need to transfer things, good, weapons, soldier from one place to another. We need to travel fast. Then only we allow the train to move at maximum sanction speed. Otherwise, for the normal civilian people, we do not disclose the value to the driver and other people, and allow them to travel at the speed. So speed of the train, again, basic things. Normal speed of the train will be dependent upon power of the locomotives that you people have already seen, you people have submitted. Strength of the track, what kind of rail section what we have, what kind of sleeper we have used, what type of rocks we put in the ballast layer, what kind of fastening we have in order to fix the rail to the sleeper. Everything will be dictating what is the speed of the rail. So in order to achieve high speed, we know that we have to use diesel engine or electric engine. You people have already submitted a tutorial, or otherwise we need to go for strengthening of the existing track. We need to make sure that all the devices, everything we have, those are really strong. So what is the advantage of increased speed? Everybody will be happy. Okay. Like if I am a customer of Indian Railways, I will be able to reach my destination in shorter duration. So I'll be happy. So in that way, I'll be communicating that satisfaction to several people. People will be saying, "Ye personal vehicle, bus, ye sab khatam karo. Let us take the train." So obviously, many people will be shifting to train. That is good for everybody. And the other thing that we have seen in case of railway engineering, it increases the track capacity. So there are several factors which influences the track capacity that we have seen. Faster movement of the train and reducing the spacing between the two trains. Provide prompt service to the customer. So that's happiness, smile sign for the customer. Everybody will be saying it's great. We have high-speed rail across the world. UIC, International Union of Railways, headquartered in France, they said that high-speed train will having a speed more than 200 km for conventional track, which is upgraded, and 250 km on a dedicated track. So dedicated track means you will not be seeing any branches coming. There will not be any junction. There will not be any points and crossing location. This is contrarily one designated track meant for a particular train. Okay, there is no chance, no provision of the train to move from one line to another. There are various examples. In India, we see less speed. There is Gatiman Express, which is having higher speed than some of the Rajdhani or Shatabdi Express, which is not listed here. But overall, maximum we see 160 km/h in case of India. Okay. Intercity Express Germany 300 km/h, bullet trains in Japan, Europe, even some of the trains in Japan and China, they are in the range of 450 to 500 km/h. So you can see that we are lagging much behind in comparison to outer world. So we need to come up with newer technology so that we have a better train movement system for the passenger. So use of advanced technology, I think many of you are going to present it. Magnetic field, maglev train, how maglev trains are moving in Japan, in Germany, other countries. Some of the people will be discussing about those. And advanced design of the track. A bullet train track is coming up in the India. We do not have any standard guidelines published by RDSO or any other organization. So we are following the Japanese guideline primarily because ADB is sponsoring, the Japanese banks are sponsoring most of our expenditure. So we are following their standard, and when you are following a standard, you cannot कॉपी एंड पेस्ट थिंग के इतना हॉरिजॉन्टल कर्व होना चाहिए, इतना वर्टिकल कर्व होना चाहिए, रेडियस ये degree of curvature ये. So there are many trials that are being done in case of India. But one thing is that in order to achieve high speed, you need to make sure you have minimum number of horizontal and vertical curve. Okay, otherwise you will not be able to achieve speed. There are some other related terms. So we have talked about only maximum sanction speed. Now safe speed. Safe speed, it can be defined for two different things, two different types of track. One is which is laid on a straight track and the other one is where we have a curve. So in case of straight track, safe speed is basically the speed which will not allow the accidents. Now when we talk about accidents, it is a term used by the common people. Now when you are an engineer, you will be able to differentiate between different types of accidents. So during the morning hour, we had a presentation related to the train accidents. There we had certain specific terms, derailment, head-on collision, rear-end collision. But in case of geometric design, you'll be getting exposed to two terms which are different from each other. So one is overturning and the other one is derailment. But if you see that accidents happening due to overturning or derailment, when the newspaper article reports it, they will either say both of them are accidents or all of them are related to derailment. But being engineer, you should be clear about how they are different from each other. So that will be cleared in the next class. So safe from any danger of overturning of derailment with certain margin of safety. Now safe speed, again this is limited by maximum speed defined for each train. Now when you have a particular steam engine or one diesel engine and you have less horsepower, or if you have less power in terms of any unit, you do not expect that you will be able to travel at a high speed. So this is limited by maximum speed defined from each train. You do not expect similar speed, same maximum speed for each train. So vehicle characteristics different with different categories of train. Speed on curves, that will be dependent upon the gauge of the track, radius of the curve, that is obvious, whether it is sharp curve or this is really large curve. Super elevation provided, how much we are raising the outer rail with respect to the inner rail. Transition curve length. Transition curve is basically the curve we need to provide in between the straight track and the horizontal curve. Okay, so that there is a smooth transition. You know it from your knowledge of highway and traffic engineering. And the other one is distance at which resultant of weight and the centrifugal force acts from the center of the track. Okay, so earlier we were only mentioning about whether it is working perpendicular to the rail section or not. Now it is saying one more thing, that distance at which the resultant is going to work. So how much it has moved from the center of the track because of the zigzag motion, weathering action, yielding surface, less maintenance, the train moves in a lateral, goes through lateral movement. So we need to see at what distance this resulting force is going to work from the center of the track. Of safe speed on curves, there are certain formulas which were prescribed by one person which is known as Martin. So these are empirically developed formula to determine safe speed on curve. This is old practice. Now if you look at those formula, this is VS for transition curve, broad gauge, meter gauge, for narrow gauge. If you look at this equation, all of a sudden 4.4, 3.65, they are coming. This is because those are empirically developed. So they prepare test track, they ask the train to travel multiple times. आप ये करो वो करो, ब्रेक दबाओ, कितना horizontal curve डालो, इसको कम करो, इसको ज्यादा करो. After that they came up with these equations. Here also you see this is 70, this is 6, this is maximum for 50 km/h. So these formulas, empirically developed formula, we have been using them for the estimation of safe speed on curves for Indian Railways. Here also we have some formulas which are related to non-transition curve. So there is no transition curve. This is non-transition curve. This is fourth, fifth. There are also some equation. Some other equation as well, very bad, very difficult to remember. But the good thing is that this one, that Indian Railways, they do not use those formulas. Okay. They do not use Martin's formula. Okay. So now the next question is, which formulas do they use? Is there different formula, easier formula? Let us see. Okay. So Martin's formula is being replaced by Railway Board formula. This formula actually considered Kant actually provided on the track and standard deficiency allowed in it along with the radius of the circular curve. So here they are talking about something which is very odd, which is difficult, which is complex. So standard deficiency, and the other one is radius of the curvature. So in the last slide we have seen it was related to horizontal curve radius. Okay, but here in addition to the radius we had something which is related to Kant. Here also they are talking about some deficiency, God knows what it is, and radius as usual. So let us see those formulas. So again, the formulas, they do not look very easy, but the formulas are basically 0.27 R CA CD. Okay, so there is a term CA, there is another term which is CD. The CA, C stands for Kant or super elevation. Here also C stands for Kant or super elevation. This A stands for actual and D stands for deficiency. So we'll be learning what are those. So actual are basically what you are actually providing at the site, and deficiency means what is the deficiency in the Kant. We'll be seeing those. So there are certain formulas. You may not be able to remember each one of them, but as broad gauge is mostly common nowadays, all other gauges are being converted to broad gauge as per the uni-gauge policy of Indian Railways. That you have seen that over the years how the proportion has changed. Everything has been converted to broad gauge. So any value, any formula related to broad gauge, you should remember for any competitive exam purpose. Okay, for my exam purpose, it is fine. I'll provide you with the formula, but not this formula. Every odd formulas will be given to you, but for the competitive exam, it is a request to you that you try to remember everything related to BG. So Kant deficiency. Let us directly go to the Kant deficiency. So Kant actual is what we provide from the equation that we have derived earlier. So Kant deficiency is only relevant when you have a track. Okay, so suppose for a particular track, you have designed the track keeping in mind the equilibrium speed. That if I allow the train to travel at a speed which is equal to the equilibrium speed, there will be counterbalancing of centrifugal force, no wear and tear. So you have provided that. But what if a train is traveling at a speed higher than that? Okay. Will there be any problem? So when a train is traveling at a speed higher than that, if you see this equation, this is in millimeter again, the speed is higher. So if speed is higher, you need higher super elevation. But you have provided this super elevation already, which is known as actual. So the difference between the Kant that is required for the maximum speed with which a train is traveling, and the one which you have already provided is known as CAN deficiency. It is almost equal to any deficiency in our body. Like everybody is mentioning about vitamin D deficiency in case of COVID-19. So people are saying in such circumstances, in some special cases, you need to have this much amount of vitamin D in your body, but there is a deficiency. What does it mean? The kind of food, kind of supplement you are taking, which is basically actual, is much required than the one um, which is essential for you to survive in such special cases. Okay, so we call it deficiency. Okay. So now CAN deficiency, it is limited to higher value causes greater discomfort. So if this difference is high, suppose you are allowing the train to travel at a speed of 140 km maximum, but one train is traveling at 170 km per hour. So obviously the super elevation that you have provided, that will not be really comfortable for the passenger. Second one is it will have greater unbalanced centrifugal force because you are not balancing it. So when you have unbalanced centrifugal force, you need to make sure that you have a really strong track, very strong. So how we get strong track? Everything is like rail section is larger, it is heavier, the fastenings are really good quality. Even if you have put the fastening, you need to make sure that they are in good shape. There is no wear and tear, there is no corrosion, they are not damaged, they are not loose, everything. So everything is in a good shape, otherwise there will be problem. In the similar way, there is a related term which is not part of the safe speed equation, is cant excess. So what is cant excess? This is opposite of deficiency. So suppose your body needs 11 gram vitamin D, but after listening to me or after reading some news article, all the time you are having more milk, more vitamin D enriched food and everything. So what will happen? After a few days, you will have huge amount of vitamin D in your body. So you are having excess amount of vitamin D, but you are neglecting other minerals. Okay, so in case of railway engineering, so you have actually provided the super elevation at the site, that this is what we have calculated from the equation, but the speed with which the trains are moving, that is much lower. Okay, so generally it happens when the goods train move on a particular section, so they travel at a lower speed. So many a times the cant that is provided to them, the track, it is excess for them. So there is a problem for them when they negotiate the horizontal curve. So we call it cant excess. So in case of cant excess also, you need to make sure that it is not going beyond certain value. So anything really high is not good, should be worked out considering the book speed of the goods train. So goods train, there is a term book speed. So book speed is this, basically this is the speed which we are trying to fix for the goods train. So book speed of the goods train running at a particular section. This should be considered when we are talking about the cant excess. So on a particular section where you have more number of goods train which carries predominantly goods traffic, cant excess should be kept as minimum as possible. Otherwise, there will be wearing of the inner rail. How come this thing is coming, inner rail? Anybody? So when we talked about curve resistances, so I had three photos. One is, this is what the super elevation is required. What if we provide higher super elevation? Okay, so suppose this is 20 degree, but I am providing 25. What will happen? We have rail here, we have rail there. Then the other instances that I discussed earlier, that what if it is 15 degree? So this is what we need. If suppose we have made mistake, we have provided this. And what is the problem if we have provided less than what is required? In these two cases, you will be able to see, if you understand it, if you try to visualize the situation, you will be seeing that in one case there will be more pressure on the inner rail. In the other case, there will be more pressure on the outer rail. So whenever you will be having more pressure on a particular rail, you expect that there will be more wearing and tearing of that particular rail. Okay, so let me stop here. And let me take the attendance, and then you people can leave the class.